Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be working on moving from one of the most important places that you can move, and that's one of the places that we spend the most amount of time, and that's right here in our chairs where we are sitting. If you spend any amount of time in front of the computer on a week-to-week basis, doing work, computer stuff, integrating movement to your chair is a really, really important movement strategy. One of the, what I don't want people to do is, oh, I need to move, get up from their chair, walk away and move somewhere else. I want you to do your movement right in the chair. And that's largely in order to teach the body how to be engaged and active from our seated position. Otherwise, nervous system's super efficient. It will start to stack all the joints, and we spend lots and lots of time in this stacked position, rounded shoulders, extended head. I want to keep our nervous system alert and awake as much as possible. So the strategy for these movements is every 45 to 60 minutes that you're sitting down, take a 1 minute to 5 minute break in your chair and implement one of the movements that we do in this class. Over the course of the day, you should be able to get through all of them, and you will find if you do that on a regular basis, you're going to feel a lot better. You're going to have a lot less achiness, pain, other issues related to your sit. So, with all that, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start in our chair, sitting down with some crocodile breaths. I want to start by integrating our breath work. We're going to make two big C shapes with our hands, placing hands below the ribs and above the hip bone. I don't want to be on bone. I want to be in that soft, meaty tissue of the abdominal wall. Index fingers are going in the front so that we can palpate or touch our abdominals in the front. Thumbs are going in the rear so that we can get a nice feel of our low back muscles, the erector muscles. And the side palm is pressing into your side body. We're going to squeeze lightly in each of those points, index fingers, thumb, and side body, so that we're kind of clamping down. We're going to imagine that our abdominal wall is a balloon, and when we inhale, we want to inflate that balloon in all 6 of those points of contact, index fingers, thumb, and out through the side body. So nice inhale, feel that expansion out and away. On the exhale, we're going to draw our navel all the way into the spine. With each inhale, we're seeing if we can expand the balloon a little bit bigger. As you exhale, allow your hands to clench down in order to create a little bit more resistance for your inhale. I also want to develop a little bit of sensitivity at our hands. Feel your index fingers, feel your thumbs, and feel that side palm. Can you feel the expansion of that balloon pushing into each point evenly? Or does that movement move in one direction better than the others? More than likely, it's going to move into the belly and less into the side, into the low back. So see if you can bring some focus of that breath and figure out how to get that expansion to go evenly. Now for the last couple breaths, I want to bring in a different level of sensitivity, and this is noticing the difference of how it expands on the right side compared to the left side. Does one side expand more? Does one side not move at all or very, very little? That's something that will tell me that suggests there's a low neurology to that side that's struggling to expand. And simply by putting a focus into this practice and working on it daily, getting that area to expand more, we'll start to build that neurology and get a little bit more balance into our breath. Take 1 or 2 more breaths, and then we're going to stand up And we're going to grab our staff and do a little bit of shoulder work. So we can stay in front of our chairs. We don't have to move very far. Grabbing our staff, I want to get about a shoulder width grip. And we're going to imagine that we're bending the staff or trying to break it in two. And I want that bend to not just happen at the wrist, I want it to also happen at the elbow pits. So feel those elbow pits rotating up towards the ceiling. I also want to feel it in our shoulders. So as we spiral, those shoulders should pack down and back, reaching into your back hip pockets. We're going to come right back into our breath, filling up that abdominal wall. Exhale, drawing navel into spine. Sinking in that breath cycle. I want to go nice and slow. Notice how as you exhale, drawing that navel in, there's a little bit of a scoop of our pelvis. I want to initiate that scoop and hold that scoop. So we're going to have a little bit of tuck underneath. I want to feel a little bit of core engagement with that tuck. On the next exhale, as we exhale, we're going to slowly bring elbows up towards the ears, seeing how far can we go without going to pain and without losing our pelvis. I don't want a pelvis to tilt because then our rib is going to jut out and we're going to get this big sway in our back. So I want to keep that scoop, core stays engaged. Exhale as we draw elbows back to the ears. Inhale, we let the elbows soften. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, release the squeeze. With each one, we're seeing if we can draw the elbows back just a little bit more. Again, I am still trying to bend the staff actively from my wrist, from the elbow pits, and from the shoulder blades, all together. After about 10 to 20 reps, however far you're able to draw those elbows back, I want to maintain that tension. And now we're going to release our shoulders by reaching up to the ceiling, letting the shoulders come up to the ears, and then pulling the shoulders back down. We're exhaling as we reach. Inhale as you pull the shoulder blades down. Now, as we pull the shoulders down, I don't want to bend the elbows. I want to continue reaching the elbows up as we're pulling the shoulder blades down. This can feel kind of counterintuitive or difficult, especially if it's new. On the next one, as we reach up, we're going to maintain up, and we're coming back to drawing the elbows back on our exhale. Inhale, letting the elbows come forward. Now with the shoulders elevated up as we draw the elbows back, you might have a little bit more range of motion to pull those elbows back. But as we're doing this, again, I want to maintain that tucked pelvis. I don't want to lose the pelvis and get sway in the back. Keep that pelvis scooped. We're still inhaling into our crocodile breath, exhaling, drawing navel into spine. We'll let the arms back down. We're going to switch the staff to behind the back. Palms are facing backwards. We're still bending the staff, but we're bending it away from the body. So the elbows are still spiraling forward. Shoulder blades are still packing down and back. And you should notice that kind of opens up the chest across the front. I want to feel that nice opening, kind of lifting up the sternum towards the ceiling. And from here, inhale into our crocodile breath. Exhale. We're slowly lifting elbows up to the ceiling behind us. Inhale, soften the elbows. Exhale, lift and squeeze. I want to watch out for craning the neck. I don't want to drop the head and reach forward. I want to try to stay tall in the spine as we lift. And again, we're going slow with our breath. With each one, we're seeing if we can squeeze a little higher without forcing it and without going into pain. After about 10 to 20, we're going to flip our palms to facing forward. Everything is the same. We're still bending the staff away from the body, open chest, packed shoulders. Inhale, crocodile breath. Exhale, lifting elbows up towards the ceiling. On this one, I want to pay particular attention to how it feels through the front of the shoulders. If one shoulder is a lot tighter in the front, that's going to point us to the bicep tendon. So that's an important signal to kind of take notice of. It's one that's a good one to kind of mention in a consultation with me, that's something that you're experiencing. Again, after 10 up to 20 reps, we can then set the staff down to the side, and we're going to come back to our chair. As we sit down, I want to come right back and start breathing into our crocodile breath. We don't need to use our hands at the moment. We're going to bring our hands to the bottom of the chair and grab tight and pull our shoulder blades down. I want to spiral those elbow pits forward again so that you feel the shoulder blades draw down and back and feel that opening up the chest, getting nice and tall through our spine. We're going to do a little bit of neck mobility next, but we're still continuing with our crocodile breath. I still want to feel that nice expansion to the abdominal walls on the inhale. Exhale, feel that navel draw into your spine. And we're going to start with checking our blind spots. So as you inhale, head is at center. As you exhale, you're seeing how far can you look over your right shoulder. Inhale back to center, and then how far can you look over your left shoulder. Now, when I'm looking over the shoulder, I want to reach with my chin. I want to see how far can I get my chin to move over the crest of the shoulder. I don't want to tilt my head and reach from the forehead where I get a different angle on my head. So the more you turn from that chin, you should get into a little deeper musculature of the neck. And as you're going side to side, pay attention to how far you're able to go in each direction. Notice how tight and tense it feels in each direction. Is there a difference between the right and the left side? We'll come back to center, and now we're going to get into our tilts. We're going to lightly tilt our head like we're dropping our ear to a shoulder. I'm not dropping it all the way. Again, this is a light drop. And then opposite ear, I'm lifting as if I'm trying to touch that ear to the ceiling. I want to feel that whole side of my face reaching up so that I feel some length and stretch through the side of the neck. Inhale as we're at center. Exhale as we tilt and lift. Inhale to center, and then go to the opposite side. Notice how this movement feels from one side to the other. You may find that it's easy, you have lots of range, you get a nice big stretch on one side, and that it's difficult or challenging to engage the movement on the other side. Or you just may feel tightness and tension. These differences between one side and the other side are very, very important. So I want to take notice of them, And where you feel differences, these are areas in which we want to practice these movements more in order to get them to feel more similar than dissimilar. These are areas that need work. Where there is a lack of movement in the body is where we need to engage in movement. I'm personally feeling that left side's a little difficult to get into. So that's going to be something I need to work on through the rest of the day. Next, we're going to get into glide. So with glide, I want the cheekbones to stay on the same plane, the same level. And we're just moving our head side to side. We still got a nice engagement of our hands. Elbows are spiraled. Chest is open. We're inhaling at center. Exhaling as you reach your cheekbone straight out to the side. Inhale to center, exhale to the other side. Now this movement is easier to do in front of a mirror or in front of a camera where you can see what you're doing. Things I want to watch out for is I don't want my head to tilt to where I'm leaning with my forehead, and I don't want to rotate where I'm turning my eyes and my nose to one side. And it's hard to feel those things without being able to visually see it in the mirror. And you may notice doing it in the mirror that you go further in one side than you do in the other. I also want to notice just the tension levels and how challenging and difficult it is going in one direction versus the other direction. And then the last for the neck we're going to do are some shallow neck rolls. We're going to let our chin drop to our chest. I don't want to go deep to start with on any of these ranges. So chin to chest, we're going to lightly let the ear drop to the shoulder. Then we're going to let our gaze move up to the ceiling. Then our opposite ear to the opposite shoulder, and then gaze back down to chest. And we're going to keep moving through those 4 points. 4 points make a square. As we continue to move, I want to slowly smooth those points out into a circle. We're continuing to breathe through our crocodile breath, but because this is a continual movement with continual tension, I'm less concerned of where we breathe and more that we're just maintaining a nice open pathway in and out. Notice what side feels more tense compared to the other. As you're moving into this safely, non-painfully, we can start to deepen our circle. You may notice some crackly, some crepitus sounding. As long as it is not painful, it is okay to move into the crackle. In fact, I want to think about de-crackling the crackle. So we want to get in there and let it move. If it is painful, then you need to back off. I do not want to move into pain, especially when working through the neck. And then we're going to reverse directions, and we're going to do the same thing, starting shallow. Just because we worked in one direction doesn't mean the other direction is going to be smooth. So starting shallow again, chin to chest, ear to the opposite shoulder, gaze to the ceiling, opposite ear to shoulder, and then chin back down to chest. And again, as we're going through, we're going to slowly smooth these 4 points into a circle. Nice big breaths in and out, going slow. How does this direction feel compared to the other direction? Can you notice more tension on one area of your neck that's more than the opposite side? I have more tension on my right neck, side of my neck, which is interesting because my left side feels like it's less neurologically available. So all the work is being done on the right side is from what it feels like. We're going to let our hands relax, soften the shoulders, and now we're going to get into a little bit of hand work. We're going to do some bowls of soup here in a second. I want to start by just reaching hands straight down, extending the elbows fully, and spreading the hands as wide as possible. We'll start with our palms facing forward. I want to open those hands up so much that you feel stretch within your hand and out into those fingers. Extend those elbows. We're going to spiral palms up towards the ceiling slowly as we inhale, and then we're going to slowly spiral palms down and underneath as we exhale. I want to move evenly all the way from hand, wrist, elbow up to the shoulder. I don't want to just move my hands. We're keeping the hands spread and we're spiraling all the way up to the shoulder. We're seeing how far can we spiral that long arm bone of the humerus within the shoulder socket internally, and how far can we spiral externally. Notice how smooth is it. Is it the same on the right side as it is on the left side? Is one side, does it have a little bit of a catch in it? Does it feel a little clunky? Does it feel painful? Do you have more stretch at the end ranges on one side compared to the other? Is there a difference in the range of motion? Can you go farther with your spiral on one side than the other? If that position's feeling good, then we can bring our arms up a little higher. If you have some pinchiness in the shoulders, then I want you to keep your arms low to stay out of that pinch. So reaching straight out to the side, again, hands are spread wide. And now we're going to go one side at a time. Spiraling right hand all the way. I'm only spiraling long arm bone up to the shoulder socket. I don't want my shoulder to start to round, at least not yet. And then we're going to open as much as we can and spiral the opposite side as far as we can. And then open. Again, I want to notice the quality of that spiral. I'm paying attention to what's going on inside that shoulder joint. Right now, my left shoulder joint, I don't have as much range of motion. It's tighter, more restricted. Not quite painful, but there's almost a catch, especially as I open back up. Right shoulder feels pretty good overall. With each one, we're seeing if we can spiral internally and externally a little bit more. And then we're going to start to let that shoulder blade free. As we spiral internally, that shoulder can start to round up and forward, giving us a little bit more range of motion, causing us to twist a little bit in our upper back and spine. And we'll do that again going to the other side. And this is where I like to think about from fingertip to fingertip, we're a wet washcloth. And it's like we're trying to wring out that washcloth, going back and forth. Can you feel that nice wringing out effect from your fingertip to fingertip, all the way through the forearms, into the shoulders, and even up into the upper back? Then we'll relax our shoulders. Now we're going to come back into our breath and we're going to start working into some seated cat-cows. I'm going to turn my chair sideways to make this more visible. So coming back into our crocodile breathing. Inhale into that abdominal wall, expanding the breath out. Exhale, we're drawing our navel into our spine. And I want to feel how our inhale, as we breathe in, the pelvis wants to tilt forward, giving us that nice sway in the back. And as we exhale, drawing our navel into spine, our pelvis scoops a little bit. You might even feel some stretch in your low back. With each inhale and exhale, I want to accentuate that movement. We're going to really start working on our pelvic tilt with our breath. So inhale, feel that pelvis moving forward. Fill up that abdominal wall as you do so. Can you feel that breath stretch out and away as it expands your balloon? And as you exhale, scoop. Can you feel that mobilize your low back and get a little stretch? I want to make sure we're keeping our shoulders right now directly over our hips. So my shoulders are not rocking forward and backwards. My pelvis is scooping and it's rounding my spine and then extending my spine with the breath. But the shoulders, for the most part, remain over the hips. As we're doing this, we're now going to start adding in our arms again. And we're basically coming back to those low bowls of soup. So I'm going to kind of change my position again so that we can see this. Arms are down. As I inhale, filling up my belly, I'm spiraling my palms up as much as I can towards the ceiling. Nice open chest. Palms are down by my side. As we exhale, scooping, we're going to let the hands reach forward as we spiral inward, allowing the shoulders to round up over the body, getting a nice big rounding in our upper back. Inhale, arms come back down to the side, reaching down and away, spiraling out. Exhale, reaching forward. Again, I'm going to turn to the side just to give another view. So as we inhale, I'm spiraling up, arms are at my side. As I exhale, drawing navel in and scooping, I'm reaching as I'm spiraling. I want to get this nice big stretch across the upper back and lower back at the same time. Notice that my shoulders are still remaining over my hips. So I'm not leaning forward or leaning back. I'm letting my spine move through the hips and the shoulders. And one last thing to have you focus on are your eyes. I want you to find a point in the distance, either looking at the computer or at the wall in front of you, and keep your eyes on that point as you're going through these movements. So I don't want the head to drop or lift up. I want to keep it in the same place as we work through our seated cat-cow. Nice. All right, so now we're going to do some figure four work with our hips. Placing ankle up on your knee. We're going to come back into our breath, breathing into our crocodile breath, and on our exhale, we're going to let both arms relax and kind of cascade over our shin. As we exhale, inhale, we're bringing it all the way back up to tall. Exhale, letting the hands waterfall over the shin. With each one, we're seeing if we can fold a little bit farther without forcing it. Notice, how does this feel in the hip? Do you feel solid and under control with your foot, or does it feel a little wobbly? I want to make sure that we don't feel like we're going to fall out of our chair. And we'll do 5 reps on this side. And then we're going to switch feet. And so before we switch feet, I want you to kind of notice how high, where is this knee relative to your ankle, so that we can compare it to the other side. When we bring that other side up, you might find that that opposite side knee sits higher or lower. My right knee sits significantly higher because I've had 5 knee surgeries and I have a lot more, I got stuff going on in my hip. Doing the exact same thing, nice inhale into our crocodile breath, exhale, forward fold. And with each one, again, we're seeing if we can get a little bit deeper into our fold without forcing it and without going to pain. Again, notice how does this feel in your hip? Notice how it feels in the knee. Is it different on this side than it was on the other side? After 5, we're going to bring both feet down, and now we're going to shift our position in our chair into a split stance. So I've got the back of the chair to my left side. I am sitting straddle over the chair. My back leg I want tucked. I want that big toe tucked underneath, and the knee is directly under the hip, which is directly under the shoulder, which is directly under the head. I want to have a nice straight line. I don't want to get my body out of position where I'm reaching forward or reaching back. We're going to come back into our crocodile breath, expanding out on the abdominal wall. Exhale, drawing navel into spine. And we're going to get back into pelvic tilt, but we're only working one side of at a time. I want to bring our focus back into our big toe real quick. I want to be tucked and loaded on the big toe, the ball of the big toe, as if we are going to spring out of this position into a dead sprint. So if we are on the outside, on the pinky toes, or we are not fully engaged, see if you can find that locking in the big toe down into the floor. You should feel a little bit of stretch, either in the big toe or in the arch of the foot. So again, inhale, we're filling up our belly and allowing this pelvis to tilt forward. On the exhale, we're scooping our pelvis as we draw the navel into the spine, and see if you can feel a stretch through the front of the hip. Inhale, let it tilt. Exhale, scoop. And I want that scoop to add to our loaded toe. It's almost like as you scoop, you're feeling that big toe ground into the floor even more. Notice the quality of this stretch on the front of the hip. As you scoop, can you feel your glute activate? Can you feel it get tight? After we do 5 to 10 on this side, we're going to switch to the other side. Again, locking in that big toe. Get it nice and grounded. Notice if the big toe feels tighter on this side than it does on the other side. Inhale, filling up that belly. Exhale, drawing navel into spine as we load that big toe even more. Can you feel that light stretch through the front of the thigh? With each one, see if you can scoop a little more and ground the big toe a little more. On the inhales, see how much can you sway that back. Let that pelvis tilt forward, and then exhale, drawing that navel in. Again, my head, shoulders, hips, and knee all stay in alignment as I'm moving back and forth. That may feel really difficult to do and challenging to do. That's okay. We're training neurology, so the more that you practice these movements, the more this will get easier to do. Once you've matched that side, we're going to go back to the other side. And now we're going to add another layer to this movement. So we're still in the same position. We're still breathing in. Exhale, scoop. We'll get a few reps of nice inhale, exhale, scoop, feeling that loaded big toe, that stretch on the front. And then we're going to add another layer. On the next exhale, the leg that is back and behind, we're going to reach that hand straight up as we scoop, like we're trying to touch the ceiling. We're reaching and extending as high as we can at the same time that we are drawing in our navel, scooping our pelvis, and digging in that back toe. Inhale, let the shoulder soften as you fill up that belly, pelvis tilts forward. Exhale, scoop and reach. What I want to avoid on this is dropping the opposite shoulder. I don't want to pull the other shoulder down in order to reach. I want that other shoulder to stay in position so that as we reach, this shoulder is elevating higher, but the opposite shoulder is not necessarily dropping lower. See if you can feel that original stretch from our scoop get drawn up into the abdominal wall with our reach. Also notice if you feel a bigger stretch on the big toe joint. And then we'll switch and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So loading that big toe, a few reps of just breathing in, exhale, navel to spine as we scoop. And then on the next inhale, as we exhale, reaching up and extending and drawing that length. How does it feel on this side different than it did on the other side? This side is much tighter and more restricted on me than the other side was. I get a lot of tension in this left hip related to my right knee. So this is kind of a chronic tension in this side of my body, which is why I want to work these movements more into my day. Again, where you feel significant differences as far as movement quality, those are movements that we want to do more and more into our day. So we're going to switch back to the other side, and we're going to grab our staff again. So we're still in our split. Back leg is back, toe is tucked. I'm bringing the staff up. I want it to either touch both clavicles, both collarbones, or touch the very front tip of both shoulders. I want the staff touching the same spot on both sides. That's to help keep our shoulders square. We're doing the same breath in, letting the pelvis tilt forward. Exhale, scoop. Again, we'll do 2 or 3 just to sync the breath and the movement in. And then we're going to apply a new movement to this. Notice if the big toe is starting to feel a little bit more mobile. Do you feel a little bit more mobile in the hip? Do you get a little bit better movement quality? On the next inhale, as we exhale, we are going to turn our chest towards the back of our chair. Inhale, we're bringing it all back forward. Pelvis goes forward. Exhale, scoop as we draw navel in and turn at the same time. I want to feel that grounded toe as we scoop and as we turn. I want to do 5 of these. Right now I'm allowing my eyes to follow my turn. After 5, I want to do 5 more where we're maintaining our eyes on the horizon. Find that point on the wall. Keep your eyes fixed so that as you exhale, you're turning your shoulders as far as you can, but you're not letting your eyes move. Notice your knees, especially the front knee. As we rotate, I don't want that knee to rotate with us. So that knee needs to stay grounded, and if anything, it's kind of counter turning in the opposite direction so that it doesn't move with. That will help get a little bit more rotational work into our spine. And then we're going to switch sides and do the same thing. Starting out, the staffs, again, same spot on the shoulders. We're going to start with just a few breaths. Breathing in, nice scoop. Again, I want to kind of reintegrate that breath. Make sure that the big toe is loaded and grounded. And then on the next inhale, as you exhale, nice scoop. We're turning towards the back of the chair. Inhale, turning forward, pelvis goes forward. Exhale, scoop and rotate. Again, right now, I'm allowing my eyes to follow my gaze, to follow my shoulders. Again, I want that staff staying on both shoulders so that as you rotate, it should not be popping off of one shoulder. Staying, touching, so that we know that we're staying square in the shoulders. And again, feel that big toe grounded and loaded as you turn. And then after 5, we're going to put our eyes on the horizon, picking a point on the wall and keeping it there. Notice if one side feels significantly more challenging than the other side. And there's a lot of different ways in which more challenging will present. Might be that your legs are burning and you're just feeling like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. You might be noticing like major core activation, especially through the obliques. If that's greater on one side than the other, then this is a movement that you want to work on regularly for a while. That tells us that there's probably some imbalance within your hips and within your spine related to gait mechanics that we want to work on. We're going to go ahead and set the staff off to the side. We're keeping our chair close by, but we are now going to get onto the floor, onto our back, and placing our feet on our chair. I want our feet resting on the chair. I want the hips to be a little bit less than 90 degrees. So I don't want the knees in front of the hips. I want the knees pulled in a little bit tighter into our chest. Feet get to rest downward on the chair, and I want the feet touching. Change positions. Feet are touching. Knees are open. We're getting into a bit of a frog position. From here, we're going to place hands on our knees. And this is, we're going to do another breath work. We're bringing in our crocodile breath, and we're going to turn it into what I call an anti-Kegel or a turtle breath. You can ask me later why we're calling it a turtle breath. Hands are on knees. I am pushing away actively with my hands, and we are pulling actively up with our knees. I want to maintain that tension, pulling up and pushing at the same time. Feel your shoulders relax down into the floor. I don't want shoulders and head coming up. Make sure shoulders and head are touching. If you're finding that you can't rest your head, it's okay to put a bolster or a pillow or something just to allow your head to be soft. So with this nice tension, we are breathing into that crocodile breath. Feel your back soften, flatten out on the floor. Inhale, expanding out. Exhale, drawing navel all the way into the spine while you are maintaining pushing away and pulling at the same time. With each inhale, we're seeing if we can expand the balloon a little bit more. And with each exhale, we're drawing that navel into spine. And as you get comfortable with this, I want to feel that breath start to draw all the way down into the pelvic bowl, the bowl of the pelvis. So we're filling up out into the abdominal walls. Feel that breath move down into your pelvic bowl. See if you can feel a stretch associated with that on the inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to draw navel into spine, and we're going to do a light Kegel. So lightly squeeze as if you're holding in pee, holding in poo, trying to hold a fart, right? I want to keep that. I want to squeeze lightly as we exhale. Inhale, feel that wall of the pelvic bowl expand. Exhale, draw navel in and light squeeze. After 5 to 6 breaths, we're going to relax our arms, bring our feet back down. We're going to move the chair off to the side. And we're going to do a little bit more hip mobility from the floor. I want to just do a little bit of light shin box work because we don't get a lot of hip work in the chair itself. We're going to just focus on doing some folds, getting into our modified pigeon. So I'm in my left side shin box. My left knee is the knee that is forward. My chest opens up more to the left side. I want to use my shin as my arrow. We're going to reach both hands evenly through the shin, only reaching as far as you can reach with both hands evenly. If you find that as you reach, one hand goes farther forward, you need to bring it back, only reach even, see how far both hands will go together. Inhale, we're going to bring it all the way back up, and we're going to go to the other side. So I'm going to give you a couple of options for transitioning from one side to the other. We can bring hands to the floor, windshield wiper, keeping both feet in contact with the floor as we go from one side to the other. And then again, inhale, exhale, reaching through the shin, both hands even. Inhale, coming back, and we're going to transition back across to the other side. Both hands reach even, and then coming back. As we come back to the other side, our second transition option is the thread through. With the thread through, I'm going to lift my back leg completely off the floor, spiral it around, thread it underneath the other foot, lift, spiral that leg all the way around, and I'm back into my shin box, and I can reach. If you got a yoga mat, this is a nice mobile way of transitioning from one side to the other that keeps you facing the same direction on your mat. Now, as you're doing this, notice the difference of how it feels on the left side compared to the right side. Are you able to reach as far? Are you able to fold as deep? Is there a bigger stretch on one hip compared to the other side? And as we're going back and forth, we're going to start to open up our back hip. We're going to let that leg reach back just a little bit more, continuing to reach through that shin. Bring it across to the other side, and then reach that leg back a little bit more. We're opening up how big our shin box is. And then with each one, we're going to open it up a little bit more and a little bit more until we get into what will start to look like a yoga class pigeon pose. But I'm not in a hurry, and I'm not focused on getting into that end range. I'm more interested in how does this feel left side to right side as you're going back and forth. Are you able to reach as far on the right side as you are on the left? Do you feel it as a bigger stretch in one hip compared to the other? Are you getting some pinch Is there pain? If there's pain, then I want to tone back how far we are moving. And if you're able to get fully into that yoga class pigeon pose, I want to see if we can get there without using our hands, especially if you're doing the thread through. So as we're opening that back leg back, we are reaching straight into it with that foot and reaching straight forward with our hands. How much are you able to get into that position without adjusting your body and moving, using your hands, or kind of cheating? Good. So to finish up, we're going to go ahead and get back into our chairs. And we're going to come back and kind of check back in with our crocodile breath. So again, making two big C shapes, placing those hands below the ribs and above the hip bone. Index fingers in the front, thumbs in the rear. Inhaling and filling up the balloon, feeling that expansion out. Exhale, drawing the navel into the spine. And with each one, again, we're trying to expand a little bit further. And I want to bring that sensitivity back to how much can you feel both sides expanding out in all directions. Whatever you noticed at the beginning of the class, where you might have felt limited, where it wasn't moving as well, has that improved? And if it still feels a little limited, like right now, I can feel my left side low back area is a little tight and it's not moving quite as much as the right. So I'm going to use my thumb and I'm going to wiggle that thumb as I inhale to give myself a cue of where I want to draw that breath. And I'm focusing that breath specifically into that space to see if I can get it to move, to get it to stretch. Can I start to rebuild the neurology there? And get a little bit more even expansion of my breath. How does this feel compared to the beginning of the session? Did it improve? Let me know.